my last video, I thought I'd start to sum up what my plans are for this year coming. If you hear any crying or anything like that, that's just two very neglected cats. This big boy is Appa. He's a little bit shy and he always has a look on his face like he's seen a ghost. Apparently the ancient Egyptians used to think that the cats could see into the afterlife. And I think anyone who's owned a cat knows exactly what they mean. They sort of will start to look at something on the wall and there's nothing there and they look like they've seen a ghost. And Appa definitely does that a lot, don't you? Yes. He's a very big boy. Very slim, very svelte. So I thought I'd chat about what my plans are for this year coming. My knitting plans for 2022 kind of go into three different sections. The main one is patterns that I have my eye on and for certain reasons. The next one is to do with natural dyeing. And then my third plan is to do with exotic yarns. As for the patterns that I really have my eye on, I wanted to start off with knitting a shawl. That's my major goal that I have for this year because I love how experimental you can be with them. They have amazing lace patterns or brioche. So the first pattern that really caught my eye was the Midi Fairy Shawl, and that's by Malia May Joseph. One really caught my eye because I've really been wanting to knit a shawl, mostly because I've never knit a shawl before, so there's that. And it's also the fact that I want something where I can really go wild with color and texture and play with different stitch patterns that you can't, at least for me, I wouldn't want to do it in a garment because it's a bit too loud or busy and I would never wear that on a daily basis. And that's the whole point of what I want to knit. I want to wear it and I want to get the most use out of it that I can. This shawl pattern in particular uses 4 different colorways, and I've had an idea about making or putting together a colorway that is sort of inspired by my ragdolls. So something that's got a kind of white kind of color, brownies, like essentially a mix of white, brown and blue. So I think this could be a great option for it. I've not really done much color work before, so that's a really big goal I have for this year, and I want to try and incorporate it in as many projects as I can. So the Moody Fairy I think will be a great starting point, especially I think to do with tensioning and things like that. It probably would be a little easier. We'll see though, but that's the first one I've really got my eye on. And then speaking of color work, the next one that really caught my eye is the Setter Style sweater. It's by Arne and Carlos. And I was watching their podcast at the end of last year, and there was an episode where Arne was wearing this Setter Style sweater, and I thought it looked fantastic on him. And he actually reminds me so much of my father. And so when I saw him wearing it, I thought, oh my God, that would be perfect for Dad. Like, that'd look great on him too. And because they both have that kind of wacky European eccentricity, and they're both a similar build, similar coloring, so I think it would look great on him. And so my plan is to make it for him for his birthday. He's in May, so it is the cooler months in Sydney. So it will be weather appropriate, so we can wear it pretty much straight away. Hopefully I'll be able to get it done in time because it is a fingering weight project. But I just thought it was a really beautiful design, very simple, and even though it is, I believe, quite a traditional pattern, I think it can still translate pretty well into wearing it in a non-Norwegian modern context. So that's the next one I've really got my eye on. The next pattern that I want to talk about is actually inspired by the boardwalk blouse, because after I knit this, I think it just fits so well, and I really love the tailored, fitted look of this piece. And so when I saw this next one, which is the Crocus by Lene Tosti, I'm sorry if I butchered the pronunciation of that. Really beautiful cap sleeve top, very fitted. It's got darts that go from the bust to the waist and hits sort of around about hip height. And I know she has a few different versions, some of them I think in different levels of how fitted they are. And so with this one, as soon as I saw it, I thought it was just so amazingly structured and the shaping was really, really beautiful. So I think this one, like the Bodycon, would be another wardrobe staple as soon as I make it. And what I loved about it is that it's knit in cotton and linen rather than wool. So I'm interested to see how it actually sits on the body, because cotton and linen don't have a huge amount of stretch, not like wool does. But that's why I'm really keen to try it and see actually how it goes. And just really interested to see how the fit turns out. And I think it will be a great option because of how hot the weather is in Sydney, just generally. I think I might do this one with a Rowan Creative Linen. I think that's what it's called. So we'll see, that one's definitely very much on my radar. Something else that I really wanted to focus on for this year was trying to use up as many scraps that I can. And I did mention in my last video that I'm a very thrifty person, and so when I'm starting a project, I look really closely at how much yarn I will need, and I calculate it very precisely because I hate ending up with too much. Obviously too little is not great either, but I don't want to have just one ball of yarn sitting around in my stash and just having to knit a beanie out of it just to use it up. So what I would like to do, however, though, is to use up the scraps that I do have. It's not a huge amount, so I probably may even need to knit a few more projects to accumulate more scraps. And the only thing with a lot of scrappy projects is that I feel like when I've looked at them, a lot of them online are just things like dishcloths or beanies and scarves and things like that that don't really, I don't know, spark joy. So I wanted something that didn't look like it was just made from a bunch of reject yarn that, you know, scraping the bottom of the barrel to just get rid of. So when I saw Wool & Pine released a new pattern called the Sea Glass Sweater, and it's knit from entirely out of scrapped yarn, and it's in a DK weight, and I just loved how delicate it looked. And even though it had so many different colors going on, it wasn't overly busy. And I think a big part of that is because the pattern itself is very simple. And I think that's the key, is that when you're knitting with a lot of different color and things like that, you want to keep the pattern as simple as possible, because that's how you balance out all the visual onslaught of color and things like that. I think that's the beauty of this pattern, is that it's very simple, and I think the execution of how they've done the different colors and the scraps looks incredible. So that's definitely on my radar. Another thing that I've always really wanted to knit is like a big piece. So something like a coat or a dress, something that I know I'm not gonna wear all the time, but just to have this statement knitted piece would be incredible. And I was on Instagram and this account came up and it was this incredible dress, and it was a ribbed fitted dress with a slightly high neck, long sleeves, sort of a midi length, but it had a slit up the side, and it looked incredible. And it's the Oh My Figure dress. I think it's by Oh My Knits. The designer's name, I believe, is Stine Jorgensen. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation again. Everyone I've seen wear this looks stunning, and there's so many variations of it, because you can have, you know, a high neck but then make a short sleeve, and you can have a top, you know, you don't have to make it a dress, or you can start at the waist and make a skirt, or whatever. It has, when you have a dress like that, you can kind of just chop and change and alter it as you like, and this is just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So this is something that I would really, really like to make this year. Unfortunately, at the moment, she's only got it released in Danish and German. I know she is working on an English version, so as soon as that is released, I am buying it. It doesn't matter if I don't cast it on immediately, I just want to have this project in my library, ready to go for when I do. So the next pattern is also a larger piece. It's sort of a mix between a coat and a cardigan, like a Longline Cardigan, and it's the Canyon by Aiste Butkevnitse. I'm sorry if I didn't get that at all. My Lithuanian is not great. But it is this incredible sort of long line cardigan coat sort of pattern, and it has this amazing stitch pattern on it that sort of reminds me of an iris flower or maybe even a honeycomb, but not like a honeycomb brioche. It's quite large and it is amazing, this pattern. And I think I've just got such a soft spot for kind of these, not trashy, I've got just like such a soft spot for these trashy kind of European, no, it's not trashy, it's just incredible. It's just, I think, something that you would never see anyone wear outside of Eastern Europe, and I think that's what I love about it so much. So this is something I really want to knit up because the model in the photo looks incredible, and I'm pretty sure it's the designer who's modeled the garment. And in the original, she's got quite a slim tie that goes around the waist. I think I would make, if I was to do this, make it a little bit thicker. And I believe she's used these sort of cables to thread it through. So maybe if I need to make loops in order to attach a thicker belt, I'm not sure, but that's definitely something that looks as really, really exciting. So I spoke in my last episode about doing some hand dyeing at home and not being 100% sure if I like the use of acid dyes. So I had a little experiment using avocados for natural dyeing. So I purchased these just plain dyers Hanks, and this is what it looks like completely undyed. So it's just like a kind of creamy white. And then the first attempt I had was with just one avocado. See if I can get that color. So it's a very light pink with quite a bit of beige in it. And that was with just one avocado, so one skin, one pit, and that was it. And then I had a second attempt because I thought the color was beautiful, but I wanted something a bit deeper. So this time I used 3 avocados, get that in there. And it's got a really beautiful pinky tone, but with a lot of brown and orange in it as well. So if you want to see a comparison between the original, the second, and then the third attempt, I just think they look amazing together, and this I can see as a project. So some kind of color work, maybe a sweater, maybe a shawl, I don't know. I'm also wondering if I should get a 4th one in as a contrast. So if these kind of have a pinky orange, if I maybe want to pair it with a blue or a green, maybe something like that, just for a bit of contrast. But yeah, I think these look stunning, and I'm really excited to try out some different natural dyes. What I liked about the avocado is I didn't have to mordant the yarn. I believe that the pit acts as a mordant, which means that the dye will stick to it. I'm also interested to see how well the color holds up with washing and things like that. So we'll have to see. I'll update you when I actually get to making something with it, knitting it, wearing it, washing it, and just see how these fare. So living in Australia, I'm really spoilt for merino yarns, obviously from Australia, but also from New Zealand. And something I really wanted to do this year was experiment with totally new to me yarns from other countries, from different animals, different characteristics, and I think that would be really exciting. Something I thought about was making a series where once every month I'll show off a new yarn of something, exotic, and just share my experience of it with you guys. So how it, what the feel of it's like, how warm is it scratchy? Just to know. I think even if you're not going to knit anything with it, I think it's just really interesting to see just how varied fibers are and in how they feel and their characteristics. So that's something I think I would like to start incorporating. And to kick it off, I did purchase this skein. It was from a shop on Etsy called the Wool Witches. It's a Polish store, and what's really unique about this is it's made from the wool of sheep that were raised in the Tatra Mountains. And what's unique about it is that Poland doesn't really have a huge industry around wool. In Australia, for instance, there is a massive industry, locally as well as a lot of exporting. In Poland, people who who raise sheep tend to just keep the fleece for their own personal use. It's not really sold on a massive commercial scale. So to be able to get some local yarn that's been naturally dyed is a real treat. And this one is, as it says, it's a dusty pink, but it doesn't have a huge amount of brown undertones, so it is quite pinky. And it's a fairly thick yarn. It's, for 90 grams, you get 180 meters. I'm not sure what that would convert to, but just based off the feel and the look of it, I'd say it's between a DK to probably more towards a worsted or Aran. And it does have that lovely toothy, rustic feel. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna make with this yet, but it's gonna be something special because this is a very special yarn for me. So then aside from those 3 overarching goals I have, which are the different patterns, the natural dyeing, and the exotic yarns, the main goal I have for every year is I want to learn a new skill with every project that I do. So in some projects, I learn multiple. For instance, the Belmont, I learnt twisted rib, Norwegian cast on, lace, how to read a pattern, as in how to read a lace chart. I learnt 3 needle bind offs, I-cords, short rows. I learnt so much with that pattern. It really challenged me, and I think that's what I love about it so much, is when I look back on it, I think I really pushed myself on that one and it really paid off. So that's the other thing that I always want to have with every pattern, is I want to learn something new, or if I'm not learning something new, I'm practicing something that I'm not confident with. So that's pretty much it for my plans for 2022. I'd love to hear what your goals are, if you have any plans, any patterns that you've really got your eye on, and yeah, just comment below and we can have a little discussion about it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!